Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rising Winds official Monarch candidate debate at Battlecry 2016. I am your primary moderator, Sir Ash Palantir of Maddox Keep in the Rising Winds.
I will be your co-moderator, Sir Juicy of Blackfire Pass, also in the Rising Winds.
I'm going to have both these candidates introduce themselves, and then we'll get to the questions. First up.
Hello, my name is Varl Sinclair, Esquire. I'm a man-at-arms to Procure of Comorgan, member of Woodhaven Keep, Rochester, Michigan.
All right.
I'm Ban Amdare Lassiter, the current Kingdom Regent, Squire to Sir Kane Alvarez, and a member of the Valley of the Twin Rivers Duchy in Springfield, Ohio.
Now, the way that the format this is going to work, for those of you tuning in on the internet, we have 6 questions prepared, and each of them is going to have 2 minutes to answer the question, and then after both of them are finished, they will have 30 seconds to rebut the other. All right, we're going to go ahead and just jump into the action here. I'm going to let Juicy start with our first question here. First is going to be Varl, and then Amdare. Juicy?
With decreasing attention to be placed on Castlebrook and the potential site change, what are your thoughts on the transition? And if they are negative, unsure of the requirements or the amenities, what are you looking for?
Varl?
Castlebrook is going to be a big potential future for the Kingdom of the Rising Winds. In my mind, Castlebrook has a lot of things we're looking for. It's very adaptable. We have large trails, huge areas for battlefields, a custom-made feast hall for our kingdom, and a growing set of amenities that will soon help to surpass any other sites. Currently, my concerns with Castlebrook lie with the fact that we have people in our kingdom who have medical and allergenic needs. And as such, one of my current issues with Castlebrook is that with those people and their needs, can Castlebrook accommodate them in everything that they need in order to fulfill their Amtgard dream? Can Castlebrook provide, the necessary utility supplies like larger bathrooms, accommodate larger events in the feast hall as we are a growing kingdom? Can we provide the benefits for anyone who is handicapped or, physically disabled at that campsite? With Castlebrook coming to fruition, hopefully, I plan on being there the November event and really looking forward to what everything Castlebrook has to offer for our kingdom.
So would you say that at the current time you plan on utilizing Castlebrook as your November?
That is correct, Ash. At the current time, I plan on utilizing Castlebrook at my November event.
Okay, go ahead and stop the time. Amdare, you now have 2 minutes to speak your piece on Castlebrook.
I've been involved with discussing the event site of Castlebrook for a few months now, and I had a list of concerns that I took the time to talk with members of Aerith and his representative crew, including having a cell phone call with Aerith just a few days ago. I've been very satisfied about the immunity situation. We have everything we need and more, and I know that just like with any site, as we go forward, we'll be able to talk with the people that own the land, and we'll be able to get what we need at a reasonable price and the kind of deal that we always want from the site. No place is perfect, but Castlebrook is good, and I know that when you elect me as Monarch, that the people that I choose to run our November event are going to make it a very memorable first event.
So you do intend also on
Yes.
running your event in November. All right. Anything?
Yeah. So, it doesn't bother you that it's an hour further away from probably 90% of our kingdom?
And that's going to go to Varl first.
Varl first.
Honestly, I don't think an hour drive is too much to ask for a great improvement on our overall immersion and battle game synergy with that site. Being, a Michigan Amtgarder, I'm used to drive no matter where I go. But I understand that, members of our kingdom might have concern with that extra hour. Personally, I think it's worth the risk asking people to drive the extra hour for all the future that Castlebrook can provide us with.
Amdare, you have anything to add?
I don't think that the extra hour is a concern. I know that many people will be grumpy about it, but ultimately, when we looked for sites a couple of years ago, we discovered that it's not easy to get exactly what we want, when we want it, and where we want it. And I think Castlebrook is the best balance of all of those factors. And if we don't like it, then we as a kingdom can always decide to move somewhere else.
All right, we're going to move on to the next question. All right, this one's going to go to you first, Amdare.
Okay.
Considering the role monarchs play in the knighting process, are there situations where you would knight someone without the approval of the Circle of Knights?
There is not that kind of situation. It wouldn't happen. The reverse is true, actually. There is, in fact, a possibility that the Circle of Knights might approve someone, and I would not choose to knight them immediately. And that's because one of the biggest tenets that I have, granted I am a non-knight, I believe that all knights should teach. They should pass on what they know. So if the Circle of Knights were to approve someone that they thought was worthy, but I did not feel they were worthy, I would not put my name to that, and I would gladly allow the Circle of Knights to talk to the next monarch after me about that.
Varl?
My stance is very similar. I would not knight anyone without the peerage of the Circle of Knights granting approval to that person. Similarly, I also believe that the advice and counsel of the Circle of Knights is important, but it is not absolute. And if I find someone is undeserving of a knighthood in my monarchy position, I would not proceed with a knighting of that individual.
Okay. Do either of you have anything to say in rebuttal to what the other said? Okay, we're just going to move on to the next question then. Juicy?
Can you describe yourself and the important differences in being flexible and being prepared?
Varl?
There's a lot of differences in being flexible and being prepared. Being flexible implies that when a situation arises, instead of confronting that situation head on and demanding that things become the way you should see them to be fit, being flexible means finding a compromise, looking for a way around that satisfies both parties. Whereas being prepared means being ready for any eventualities that might happen. There might come a time in our kingdom where we might need to suddenly shift sites or suddenly rectify a new corpora or any sort of variety of changes. Being prepared means having the mental fortitude to address that task when it arises and have a plan enacted in place to handle any such issues.
All right. Amdare, you're up.
I think that plans are great. I love making them, but I also know from experience that plans can easily fall apart as soon as things start happening. And so I think a good mixture of being prepared and flexible is important because you have to have an idea of what you want going into a situation, but you also have to keep in mind the different possible outcomes and navigate your way successfully to one of the better ones.
Okay.
By being flexible.
Do you have anything to add here? All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next question. This one's going to go first to you, Amdare.
Okay.
Amdare, their Inter-Kingdom Code of Conduct Treaty prescribes a ban on members of other kingdoms who have been banned for violations of Sections 2 through 4 of the Amcard Code of Conduct. Do you support the Rising Winds signing the treaty, which would automatically ban such members in our kingdom?
No, I don't support us signing that treaty. There's been a lot of discussion about that. Ultimately, I feel like the Rising Winds needs to have control over its own sovereignty. We have a lot of great leaders in our kingdom. We have a lot of discussion about the treaty and its relationship with our monarchs and our board of directors and various other officials. And I think that ultimately we are always going to be in the best position to make the decision for ourselves. No other kingdom can know how we feel about something, and we can't surrender that.
Okay. Varl?
I don't think Amdare could have summed it up any better. His stance on that issue is very similar to mine. I feel that Amcard and the Rising Winds as a whole should be able to make its own decisions. While the treaty is a great idea for helping keep our game safe and fun to play for everyone involved in it, it is not necessarily a bylaw in which we should adhere to blindly.
Now, there's been a suggested amendment to our corpora that instead of signing the Inter-Kingdom Treaty, that we make it a special exception for people who have been banned by other kingdoms through these particular sections of the Code of Conduct, where in order for them to play here, they would, anywhere, park, kingdom, whatever, they would first need to get the approval of our current monarchy. Essentially, that they would have to be manually soft unbanned, so to speak. Is that something that you support as well, or do you support instead that they would have to be manually banned by us in order for them to not have to play here? I'm going to go to you first, Varl.
I support that they would have to be manually banned with us. While I believe that most kingdoms have the best intentions in mind, there have been issues that have arose where sometimes people have been unfairly banned or people's perceptions of people have been damaged by hearsay or etc. I really have backed the idea that if someone needs to be banned in our kingdom, we need to look at it as a kingdom and ban that person.
Amdare?
I'm going to take the opposite stance. I think it's perfectly okay to allow the corporate to say something along the lines of that we have to manually permit someone to play if they've been banned elsewhere for these reasons. And the reason for that is because I think it solves my chief concern, which is our sovereignty. We can always change our own corpora, we can always elect better officials if we want to, and that's my primary concern. If we end up not liking such a clause, we can always remove it from our corpora. Whereas if we sign this treaty, we are bound in it unless we want to upset the other kingdoms of Vanguard and possibly ruin our reputation amongst the rest of the game.
Carl, do you have anything to say about that in response?
No.
Okay, we're going to move to the next question unless you have something.
Nope, no, I agree with both of them on that. So what constitutes an excellent class Paragon candidate in your eyes?
We're going to go to, who did I go for first last time? I believe I started with you, didn't I?
I think so.
Yeah, we're going to start with Varl.
A Paragon candidate, in my mind, is someone who not only fields the class in a spectacular way, but is also somebody who personifies the class, who reaches out to people who they see on the field and offers advice, teaching. Someone who people can look to as a, paragon of that class. This is the person I see on the field that's rocking the field as a wizard. I need to go to that person to learn things. Or I look at this person who might not necessarily exemplify the Paragon, who might be an amazing fielder, but might not look anything like a wizard. A Paragon, in my mind, needs to both be that person and look like that person.
Okay, Amdir?
I think that that's a good start, but I also feel that a true paragon of a class, especially in V8, is also someone who's creative and innovative with the class's abilities. We've seen multiple revolutions as V8 has developed, where people that were passionate and interested in a specific class took it upon themselves to revolutionize how that class was played and its effects upon the rest of the game. And I think that that is the mark of a true paragon, is that they have that passion and that interest.
Now, I believe you had a caveat to this question, didn't you, Juicy? Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. How about for people that can't make it to every Kingdom event? They may make it one event a year, but they completely destroy the field they're on, or they rock it. How do you feel about that?
More specifically, to guide this question, how important is a class paragon in terms of kingdom participation to you? How important is that particular requirement for you? I'm going to start with Varl.
While I admire the effort they would put into the class for Paragon, I think that having multiple Kingdom event participation is absolutely crucial to becoming a Paragon. You need to be able to show the fact that I can consecutively do this at every Kingdom event. This isn't a I did this once kind of thing. This is a I am this character, I am this class. Hear me, see me, feel me on the battlefield.
Amdir?
I think it's important, but it's not a deciding factor for me. I think there are occasionally individuals that make their presence known in a way that they deserve maybe the Paragon title, but they aren't always at Kingdom events. If they make it to only one Kingdom a year or a Kingdom event a year, they may be deserving of it. It may take them longer to get that title and that recognition, or they may get lucky and display themselves in some regional events, which I think are also acceptable given the size of the Rising Winds.
All right, we'll go ahead and move to our last question at this point, and then I think we'll have time to actually open it up to the floor. I'm going to start with Amdir.
Okay.
How do you plan on advancing role-playing in the Rising Winds where others have failed, if at all? Amdir.
I specifically have plans for a 6-month reign that requires and involves a storyline. The way that I plan to involve players in this and add to the roleplay of our community, every 2 weeks I plan to have a story update with, I don't want to spoil too much, but it'll have a story update with what's happening during my reign. It'll involve other characters that want to get involved in the storyline. And I will be issuing quests and missions to various parks, which could be as simple as, I've spotted slavers in the area of Maddox Keep. If you will bring these slavers' heads to me, I'll reward you for your assistance in the conflict. By doing that, I expect the players to participate in my storyline even just a little bit, even if it's just a simple capture the flag game with a little bit of a twist. And I will reward them with that, for that incentive. I will reward them with magical items, I'll reward them with recognition, and they could potentially have the chance to earn unique titles that are completely unrelated to awards in the Corpora.
All right, and Varl, you're up. Same question.
I too plan on increasing role-playing in the Rising Winds. We are a growing LARP culture as we such define ourselves as a LARPing community. My theme, similar to Amdir, is a 2-event interlinked storyline pertaining to Kingdom events in which players will be able to distinguish themselves, their companies, and their households through events given out at Kingdoms and regional areas.
All right. I do want to just actually pick on this just a little bit, a little more specifically, and I'm going to start with you, Varl. A lot of attempts have been made to create sort of immersive. How do you believe that you have the skills needed to make people role play, where historically it has been quite difficult for Amtgarders to be involved in that?
Amtgard is a great community. And one of the biggest things that contributes to role play and becoming your character is truly becoming your character. I might not always be a lizard man at heart, but sometimes being cold-blooded is just who I am. In order to perpetuate the role play culture in our kingdom, we really have to ask players who they are. We have to present them with situations in which their morals, their code of ethics is questioned. Now, if they want to be the most evilest person possible and kill a whole bunch of orphans on accident because they can, that's the choice I want them to make as characters, and it gives them something to look back on. Alternatively, I want that something to be reflected in their character, maybe punished in their character. Something that other people might be looking at them and saying, hey, I can't agree with your character's concepts. We gotta do battle.
Okay, Amdare?
I believe that I have the skills to succeed where others have failed, mostly from my experience. I've spent the past 6 months building alliances with some of the growing roleplay households, groups like House of M. Hominem and the House of the Last Laughs. I've spent a lot of time talking to them, discussing with them, the experts you could say, about how to further their specific interests, roleplay. And with that 6 months I'm under my belt of